daughters have been shot. And the boyfriend.
He enters the house and murders her first, then TJ on his way out. Aaliyah was an 18-year-old beautiful girl, and TJ was 23. They had recently started seeing each other.
We found over 10,000 text messages.
Very argumentative. What was she doing? Where was she? Who was she with? He knew that she was with TJ. He knew where they were going, and he expressed the fact that he wasn't happy about it.
There was no motive. We had no idea what was going on. I believe everybody was stumped on as to what the motive was in this case.
Hi, I'm Nancy O'Dell. Today's crime exposé takes us to the Gulf Coast city of Orange, Texas. The Lone Star State's easternmost city became the setting for a tragic double homicide when a young couple was gunned down at home. The senseless murder left a broken-hearted community begging for answers before an unexpected lead from a cell phone would break the case wide open. It was 2:30 a.m. on a rainy January night when 911 dispatchers in Orange, Texas received a call from a mother who was in a state of shock.
Amanda Smith on the line says her daughters have been shot and the boyfriend.
There's two people?
Two, yes.
Thank you. What is your daughter's name?
Her name is Aaliyah Gradnigo. You gotta help.
I have ambulance on the way also, okay?
Oh my God. I think the cops are... Oh my God. Oh my God.
In tears, the mother told police what had woken her up to this nightmare.
Miss Smith had heard a loud sound, which sounded like a boom. She was in bed at the time, and she laid there trying to kind of figure out what was going on when she heard two more loud booms.
After jumping out of bed, she ran towards the noise.
She ran through her bedroom, through a hallway into the kitchen, where she started smelling gunpowder. And she also noticed that the blinds in the kitchen window were off center and didn't look quite right.
As she continued down the hall, she saw the lifeless body of her daughter's boyfriend, 23-year-old T.J. Livings Jr., on the bathroom floor.
As Amanda continued down to Aaliyah's bedroom, she opened the door and found Aaliyah had been shot and was in the bed. So she immediately got her phone and called 911 for help.
Emergency responders arrived minutes later.
The first officer on scene came in and saw first TJ's body in the bathroom with blood all around. He was on the floor. And then, of course, continued to Aaliyah's bedroom, where he found Aaliyah in the bed, and her sister, Maya, was sitting next to her in the bed, holding her hand.
She actually sustained a gunshot wound to the head, which was a very close shot. The other victim, who was in the bathroom, sustained two gunshot wounds to the body.
TJ was pronounced dead right there at the scene. Aaliyah was still breathing, just a little bit labored breathing, when the ambulance arrived.
As investigators processed the scene, it became clear the shooter had entered through the kitchen window, right above the kitchen sink.
The kitchen window was open, and on the other side of the kitchen window outside the house, there had been a chair propped up against the house.
Did the suspect exit the house the same way he entered it?
Yes, he did.
Inside the house, they collected any physical evidence they could find.
One of the first things that they located when they started processing the scene was Aaliyah's cell phone.
Investigators were unable to find the murder weapon, but 9mm shell casings had been left behind.
They collected shell casings from the floor in the bathroom. They collected a projectile that had gone into the wall in the bathroom. They ultimately were able to locate the projectile, which was actually in Aaliyah's mattress.
Robbery did not appear to be the motive for the crime.
Nothing was stolen from the home. There was no sign of any reasoning for entering the house except for to shoot the victims.
Despite hearing gunfire in the house, no one had seen the shooter. As investigators continued processing the scene and swabbing the house for DNA, Aaliyah's family received the worst possible news.
She was transported to the hospital in Beaumont, Texas, where she ultimately passed.
So during those early hours of the investigation, what did police believe was the motive for the murder?
At the time of the call, there was no motive. We had no idea what was going on, why a home invasion would have taken place like that. I believe everybody was stumped on as to what the motive was in this case.
One of the first things that stood out to them was a text thread between Aaliyah and a person that she had identified in her phone as Allison.
We found over 10,000 text messages in a little over a month's time.
And the nature of the text messages were often very argumentative.
As investigators tried piecing together the evidence and a possible motive for the murders of Aaliyah Gradnigo and T.J. Livings Jr., their loved ones were still processing their heartbreaking and devastating loss.
Aaliyah was an 18-year-old girl, beautiful girl from Orange, and T.J. was 23 and was from Lafayette, Louisiana. They had recently started seeing each other.
As much as investigators were hoping to obtain DNA or fingerprint evidence, there was little left at the scene.
They had swabbed throughout the house. They swabbed doorknobs and all sorts of things. The only DNA that they were able to actually develop a profile on, and it was a partial profile, was on the chair that was outside the window of the kitchen.
Detectives questioned friends and family about the couple's timeline and learned they had driven to Houston in Aaliyah's Dodge Charger at around 5 p.m. and returned to Orange at roughly 1:40 a.m.
Several of the homes in the neighborhood captured on their videos both Aaliyah and TJ coming into the neighborhood in their vehicle and arriving at the home.
Video surveillance also captured a suspicious-looking white car trailing the couple and then parking at a nearby vacant house. Minutes later, a figure is seen walking towards Aaliyah's home and then towards her backyard. At that time, Aaliyah's mother was woken up from her sleep by a sound, and what she had heard was captured on the surveillance video.
On that video, they could actually hear the gunshots being fired.
A figure is seen running from Aaliyah's home shortly after the shooting. And could you see any identifying features of the suspect?
Unfortunately, the quality of the video was not that good, and of course it was at nighttime, so they weren't able to identify any facial features.
Those surveillance cameras proved critical in the investigation.
Sometime later, we're able to see the car driving away from that location and speeding off out of the neighborhood.
Investigators could make out some significant features of the car from the videos.
They were able to tell that it was a white car. It was some sort of a Buick. One thing that the car had that was different from a lot of cars was some high-definition headlights. They could also see that the vehicle had some dark tint around the windshield. Unfortunately, they weren't able to make out a license plate number or even see the person.
The case was gaining momentum when detectives discovered more evidence in Aaliyah's cell phone.
One of the first things that stood out to them was a text thread between Aaliyah and a person that she had identified in her phone as Allison.
But as investigators read the text thread, it became apparent that Aaliyah was not texting a casual friend.
We found over 10,000 text messages in a a little over a month's time.
As they read the text messages, they noticed that they were communicating almost constantly. And the nature of the text messages were very argumentative about everything that she did. What was she doing? Where was she? Who was she with? They quickly determined that it wasn't a person named Allison that Aaliyah was communicating with, but that it was someone named Manka. They were able to take the phone number and determine that that phone number belonged to Manka Melson.
They're saying that I killed my ex-girlfriend and her boyfriend.
There were times where he would threaten to go by and kill her family. He also, on many occasions, threatened to kill himself. Life is not worth living for me if I can't have you. It was like reading a horror story.
Investigators had discovered thousands of disturbing texts between Aaliyah Gradnigo and someone named Manka Melson. And the more they read, the more they believed he might know something about the murders.
The text messages were very concerning to us. The controlling nature that he had during the text messages, especially the last day, the last night.
25-year-old Manka Melson lived with friends in Vinton, Louisiana, and he met Aaliyah when she was only 13 years old. Aaliyah's mother was not a fan.
She immediately was uncomfortable with him and made it clear that she didn't want him around her daughter.
Police say Melson was aware Aaliyah had started seeing someone, but was still tracking her every move.
They shared locations. There was a history of him checking her location and then almost showing up, popping up on her.
It appeared Melson had tracked her down on the night of the murder.
He knew that she was with TJ. He knew where they were going. He knew what they were doing. And he expressed the fact that he wasn't happy about it.
There were constant texts between the two that evening.
She had checked his location, probably concerned about where he was. Responded, "Why are you checking my location?" What are you doing in Houston? That text exchange continued throughout the evening. TJ and Aaliyah arrived at Aaliyah's home at about 1:40 a.m. and Aaliyah had been texting all the way up to that point.
Communication between Aaliyah and Melson ended right before the murders.
We noticed at 1:48 a.m. in the morning he had stopped texting her, and then his cell phone had been turned off. And then at 3:01 he turned the cell phone back on, and at 3:24 a.m. is when he basically sent his last text message to her ever, that he would leave her alone and that she was probably asleep and that he would leave her life.
And it was like reading a horror story.
Police say Melson had made violent threats before.
There were times where he would threaten to go by and kill her family. He also, on many occasions, threatened to kill himself. If I can't have you, Aaliyah, then I'm going to kill myself. Life is not worth living for me if I can't have you.
Investigators tried tracking Manka Melson down in Louisiana at a home he shared with friends, but they had arrived too late. Melson had packed his bags and left after he learned police wanted to speak to him about the murders.
We obtained information about what he was driving, and which was a 2005 Buick LeSabre.
Nobody knew where Melson had gone, but police wouldn't have to look hard.
I received a phone call from him. He said that he had heard that I was looking for him. He asked me why, and I said, well, I'd like to interview you. I'd like to talk to you.
Melson met with Detective Jason Laughlin at the Orange Police Department, and Manka immediately launched into what he already knew about the investigation.
I've been told that they're saying that I killed my ex-girlfriend and her boyfriend, and that they have video evidence of me in the house. Stuff that I didn't do. Like, not at any point in time I ever threatened her, no nothing. We still conversated as friends.
His demeanor was, he was sagging, he was looking down. He was talking, and he told me he knew he would be the the main suspect, but he loved Aaliyah and he wouldn't do this, and they were friends.
Not now one time have I ever told her that I was going to try to kill her or kill him. I kept telling her on numerous occasions that I was happy for her, that someone is making her happy. Not now one time did I ever threaten her. Yes, I threatened to take my life because I was hurt. Right. And I feel like I had nothing to live for.
He insisted he had not seen Aaliyah on the day of the murders.
You know, I asked him if he loved her so much, why didn't you come to the police or help the police? He didn't want to answer those questions and went ahead and ended the interview.
Melson left the station, but police were able to obtain a DNA sample from a bottle of water he had been drinking. They were also immediately able to discredit most of his alibi.
His alibi was just destroyed. We found out that he had sold his vehicle to somebody that he was very familiar with and knew very well in Vinton, and we were able to locate the vehicle. His alibi was garbage.
Were police able to match Melson's car with the car they had seen in the video fleeing the scene of the crime?
This particular detective, he was able to see the headlights as they traveled and was able to determine that, these are those high definition bright headlights.
Investigators were also able to obtain a search warrant for Melson's cell records and compared them to Aaliyah's.
We were able to get the information from the cell phone towers that night where he actually drove to Houston, and about the time he got there was the time that Aaliyah and TJ were leaving and headed back home.
4 months after the murders, Melson was arrested without incident. Police were able to collect another DNA sample from him.
We submitted that sample to be compared with the partial profile of DNA that was developed off the chair. It came back that the defendant could not be excluded as the contributor.
And after months of collecting digital data and analyzing surveillance video, a clear picture of what transpired that night came into focus.
Aaliyah and TJ arrived home at 1:41 approximately a.m. The last text the defendant sent was at 1:48 a.m. So he sent that last text. Aaliyah gets out of the shower. TJ goes in to take a shower. And Aaliyah is texting, trying to find out where he is. Where's the defendant? Because I'm sure she's worried about, is he going to show up?
Aaliyah sent her last text around 2:20 a.m.
And it's just minutes after her last text to him that he enters the house and murders her first, and then TJ.
Police say Melson's last text to Aaliyah was sent after the murders.
He sent what I would call his alibi text to Aaliyah, saying, I hope you are going to have a happy life with him, and I will never bother you again.
Manka Melson was charged with capital murder for Aaliyah's death. He pled not guilty. Prosecutors believe Melson's motive was clearly defined in his actions.
If he couldn't have Aaliyah, then nobody else was going to have Aaliyah. And that is the most tragic thing. He took her life and TJ's life, two beautiful people who did nothing to him.
Manka Melson was found guilty of capital murder for Aaliyah Gradnigo's homicide and sentenced to life in prison without parole. The case of T.J. Livings Jr. is still pending. And now it's time for today's Safety Spotlight. Some exes refuse to let go when a relationship is over and may resort to toxic or even criminal behavior. If your ex is harassing or stalking you, safety experts suggest you block them from electronic communication and avoid speaking to or meeting with them. Change your normal routines. Consider carrying a personal safety device and stay alert while in the public to ensure that you are not being followed. If you have shared GPS tracking information with an ex, unshare it immediately. Similarly, avoid sharing your location on social media. Have a safety plan in place for various scenarios and call 911 if you're threatened or fear for your safety. I'm Nancy O'Dell. For everyone here at Crime Exposé, please join us next time and stay safe.